Greetings. Happy Mother's Day. Welcome to the new venue, my kitchen. Since it's Mother's Day, I thought I'd share with you a story that appears in my new novel coming up soon, The Heretic. Over the years, after 40 years, it's not unusual for a physician to tell you that he's participated in many deliveries. And they're always happy occasions. It's unusual for a chiropractor. And over the years, I have been privileged to participate and actively deliver a few dozen. It's a delightful experience, especially when it goes well. Well, I had an active house call practice in a very remote rural area of Wisconsin. And as such, I would get called out many times because the patients just needed transportation, occasionally because they needed help. And quite often, I would walk into a situation which I was not expecting. In this particular case, however, I was called out of a night by a young Amish fellow who had hiked through a blistering snowstorm to get to a phone to call me to tell me that his young wife was about to have a baby and that he needed to go to the hospital. I asked him whether or not the midwife or his mother was available or her mother was available. Believe me, I tried to wiggle. But he said one was out of town, the other was not available. So I said I would be along, assuming that my truck would make it through the storm, because it was no small thing. In central Wisconsin, when we have blizzards, they're bona fide, certified, authentic blizzards. 40-mile-an-hour winds, foot of snow, 18 inches of snow, and it was well on its way. So I dug the truck out, headed up my hill, out onto the ridge. It's about 5 miles to their house. Young couple, recently married, living in a small house on the back of her father's farm, helping with their farm. Well, normally that would take me 10 minutes. This time it took me 30. And that was before I tried the driveway lane. Once I got in the lane, they were already at the open door and ready to go. Now, this little woman couldn't have been more than about 5 feet tall. And if she had weighed 100 pounds, not pregnant, I'd have been surprised. But now she was almost as wide as she was tall. So we helped her up into the truck, and I managed the truck around and back out the lane, and we swam our way into town, which was 20 miles, and took us an hour. Once we got there, we pulled into the emergency room bay, and I was very lucky because I had called ahead to say we were coming. And one of my best friends, who was also the head nurse, who liked to work ER, was on duty. And she took over and whisked the kids back, got them all set, said to me, "Hey, Mike, there's fresh coffee. Help yourself, sit at the nurse's station. I'll be out in a little while. But beware. We got a new guy, a young intern, who's doing weekend duty. And he's kind of an ass." Well, sure enough, he showed up out at the nurse's station and said, "Are you the chiropractor?" Well, I didn't punch him like I wanted to, but I said, "Yes, I am. And I'm glad I brought those kids in." He said, "Well, we'll see. They're gowning. I'll be back in a minute." Well, he was back inside of 5 minutes. He said, "It's a good thing you didn't leave, because you can take them home." I said, "Why? What's up?" He said, "Well, she's only dilated to 3 centimeters. Her water hasn't broken, and the baby isn't descending. She's not ready." Well, I felt really bad, and I ended up apologizing to the 2 kids. But we got back in the truck, and we headed out of town. Now, going out of town, you got to go up a long hill. You get up on the ridges, and once you're up on the ridges and you're up in the wind, it's anybody's game whether you're going to get home. So I was making it, but barely. And all of a sudden, right out of the blue, she goes, "Oh mein Gott, mein Wasser breaket." And sure enough, I could hear her Wasser breaking all over my truck floor. Well, I stopped the truck right in the middle of the road, and I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "The baby coming." Well, I wasn't exactly sure about that either. And I tried to decide whether to turn the truck around or make sure that she was right. Well, luckily, I decided to make sure that she was right. I turned the truck sideways in the road so that the passenger side door would be out of the wind. Jumped down, told her husband Eli, change places with me. I run around the truck, opened the door. We turned her sideways on the seat. I put one foot on the dashboard. I put the other foot on the back of the passenger seat. I took my scissors and I cut through the gusset of her underwear, and sure enough, the top of a little head was showing. I said, "Please, don't push right now. One more oh mein Gott, and we were going to have a baby on the seat, and I wasn't ready." The wind was blowing right through the truck. The snow was coming down my neck. Eli's black hat was turning white, and she was laying there with her eyes closed. Well, either I don't speak the right kind of language or she didn't understand, because the next time she took a deep breath, we had a baby's head. I quick reached across, got the blanket ready from the back seat of my truck, laid it on the seat underneath her, and I said, "Just let me check." I looked for an umbilical cord around the baby's neck. I was trying to act like I'd been there before, even though I didn't like the situation at all. It's kind of important to act like you're the one in charge. So I cradled the baby's head. I looked at Eli, and he looked at me, and she bore down. And she didn't just deliver a shoulder or shoulders or a torso. I was lucky to catch the baby before it went out into the snow. Boom! Nice, cute, perfect little baby girl. I wrapped it in the blanket, laid it up on the mother's chest, checked the pulse on the umbilical cord. It was strong. So I let it lay there for a little while, got my bag, started fishing through my thing now. Over the years, I've learned my lesson. Life favors the prepared. So, sure enough, down the bottom of my bag, I had an umbilical clamp, a pair of surgical scissors. I got ready to clamp the umbilical cord, but I waited to see whether the pulse would die. We waited and waited because the baby hadn't taken a breath yet. And pretty soon the pulse got weaker and weaker, and it stopped. I put the clamp on, and I waited. And it was like Mom went to sleep, and the baby laid there. And I looked at Eli, and he looked at me, and he shook his head, and I did too. And then all of a sudden, and a cry, and it didn't matter whether the wind was blowing the snow down the back of my neck, because we had a baby girl. Happy Mother's Day, everyone, to all of you, and I hope it wasn't as traumatic as this one was. Thank you. MichaelDees.com and YouTube Michael Dees, where other chapters of this book will show up soon. Thank you.